Hi, and welcome to Fluff Up. For today's project, I wanted to make my own original character, so I am making a little witch cat. To start, I made a really vague frame out of pipe cleaners, and then covered it in a thin layer of wool. Once the frame is covered with wool, it's easier to start building up the shape of my cat. Always be really careful around the wire so that you don't snap the needle against the pipe cleaners. I started thinking of an outfit for my character and tried to imagine a job or a hobby that witches would enjoy. And then I thought of gardening, or herbology if you think of Harry Potter. I decided overalls and a t-shirt would be really cute for a gardening witch. So I bought flat felt squares from the store and started measuring a t-shirt for my cat. I have never made clothes for anything before, so it was kind of a rough sketch, but since it is felt, I thought I would just felt it together onto the body, so it didn't have to be perfect. Next, I got to work on the overalls. I wanted them kind of loose, so I cut the fabric a little larger than the silhouette of the cat. Since the flat felt is so stiff, I wouldn't be able to flip it if I felted the pieces against each other. So I only did that around the legs so that the material wouldn't be too bulky. I didn't want it to be a black cat, so I started making a Siamese cat using beige and brown wool. I formed the ears away from the body and made them very thin but strong before adding them onto the head. Once I had most of the clothes in place, I started adding the cat's fur to all the visible areas. I kept the snout vague for the most part so that I can modify it later once I'm happy with the rest of the face. I wanted the eyes to be really big and shiny, so I used plastic eyes that have a screw on the back. I made space for them with an awl and then pushed them in. To secure them better, I felt around the screw on the back. Adding more shape around the eyes also helps a lot when trying to keep them in place. Once I was happy with the shape of the eyes and the snout, I added pink wool to shape the nose. I also used the same beige to define the mouth. I used pet brushes to mix the brown and beige and create a new shape. This is just to soften the edges where the two colors meet. I had made the suspenders of the overalls too short, so I went back to them and cut them to attach new ones. I then added buttons to the suspenders. I used my felting needle to push the wool through the holes and secure them onto the overalls. I then started adding pockets to the overalls. I felted one side of the pocket onto the seam that was already there, but on the other side I was more careful so that it would blend onto the rest of the overalls. I decided to add sewing lines to the overalls so that it would have a little more detail and look a little more homemade. kitchen line. I first opened a space for them with an awl and then used a little bit of glue to keep them in place. I wanted a hat that a witch would wear, but also something she could garden with. So I thought of making a hat made of straw like most gardening hats are. I tried to find reed or straw that you could use for basket weaving, but it was really hard to find. So I decided to try my luck with these dried flowers that I found in a craft store. I cut off the flowers and then soaked the stems in boiling water a couple of times. This helps disinfect them, but more importantly, it makes them soft so you can weave them. I've only done basket weaving once before, so it took me a while to get used to the motions. But the way I did it is actually not too hard. I just went over and under each of the spokes, and slowly added tension so that the hat would taper into the shape I wanted. Starting is always the hardest part, but once you have a couple of lines in, the tension makes it easier to keep the spokes upright. The reed also gets harder as it dries, so always try to keep it wet as you work. My cat to have a wand, so I grabbed a twig and sanded it to the right shape. Then I grabbed some brass wiring and made some details for the wand. Just for extra accessories, I put a little charm that is shaped like scissors in her pocket so that it would look like gardening shears. And here is my witchy herbologist cat. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you liked the video and that you subscribe so that you can see my future projects.